Welcome to day 8 of 100 days of coding. Today we will study about Python loops and control keywords. What are loops? A loop repeats a block of code multiple times. So what does a loop does? Supposingly you need to have a particular output for your program and you don't know that how many times you need that code to be outputted. In that case, the repetition of the code is decided by a loop. Now loop are of two types. If you know that you need to repeat a code x number of times in order to get a particular pattern, a particular result or a particular type of output, in that case it's called a definitive iteration. In case you do not know the number of times the loop needs to run in order to provide you with that particular output, it's called indefinite iterations. Definite iterations are types of for loop, if else loop, whereas indefinite iterations are types of while loop or do while loop. Now, what are loop controls? When you are running a loop, on what basis is the loop controlled? There are certain keywords known as switch, break, continue, pass. Now, break, continue, pass, they regulate the flow of a loop. If in case there is no break statement in a loop and if it's an if loop that's running, in that case the else statement serves the purpose. Why do we need to use loop? Because it automates repetitive tasks, it iterates over collections, it implements algorithms, searching, counting, aggregation, recursion, everything. Builds interactive programs like menu, input validation, output validations, all these kinds of programs, pattern building, pattern forming. These are all examples of loop based programs. And the performance is much better when we use loop. Now let's see an example. Suppose there are sum all numbers in a list. There is a list which has three numbers, 3, 7 and 2, and the sum is 0. Now how do I calculate the summation of the total values present in the list? We can take for n in nums s plus equals to n, which means that for n of num, n is an arbitrary variable which we are taking, which is taking each value of num and it is adding it with s. So s's original value is 0, n updates as 3, so 0 plus 3 is 3. Next s is 3 and n updates to 7, so 3 plus 7 is 10. Then again s gets updated to 10 and n gets updated to 2, so 10 plus 2 is again 12. So when it prints s, the output is 12. Next, now let's understand loop's first concept, which is while loop. What is the syntax for while loop? You write the while condition or while a certain condition for which your loop is running, and then the loop body and the update state so that the condition eventually becomes false. You use while loop only when you do not know the number of iterations are required and on a condition. This is the algorithm which shows how to run it. We are starting a code. There is a condition. If it is true, it executes the loop body. If it is false, it executes the loop body. Now, it will continue running true until it shows false in the loop body. See, evaluation condition is if it's true, it will run the body and it will keep repeating until and unless it does not goes to false. The moment it goes to false, it exits and runs else if present. Let's see a basic example of while loop. How to count from 1 to 5 using while loop. Now I is 1 while I is less than equals to 5. So what am I saying here is my value of I will increment till it reaches 5. Print I and I is equal to I plus 1. Plus equals to refers to I is equal to I plus 1. So what does it does? Original value of I is 1. Now it will check till the value of 5. The moment it crosses 5, the program will exit automatically. So while if I is 0, then I's first value is incremented to 1. Here I is 1. So I as 1 is printed. Then I's value gets incremented to 2. Then I's value gets incremented to 3. Then I's value gets incremented to 4. Similarly, till 5 it will increment. After which it will print numbers from 1 to 5 that it has counted. And then in case if i's value is greater than 5, then it will print done. I has to be updated. Over here I plus equals to 1 is a very important statement because it avoids infinite loop. What is infinite loop? Suppose you have a starting condition but not an ending condition. That means you don't have a breaking condition. so that it will continue repeating over and over again for infinite number of times. There is no ending to that loop and it will cause a runtime error. See, the output of this program is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and done. The moment it reaches 5, it exits from the loop and it goes to the else statement and prints done. Let's see some practical examples of while loop. User input validation. Keeps asking user valid input is received. See, while true, age is input of age. If age dot is digit, age is equal to int of age, break. Please enter a number. So it will keep asking until the user gives a proper input in integer itself. Countdown timers where n is 3 and you need to keep going till 1, 0. The countdowns which we see on New Year. Those type of countdown implementations also use while loop. Now, what are the common issues that occurs while running a while loop? Infinite loop condition never becomes false. That means, in case if a while loop does not have a break statement or a statement that brings the statement to while loop to false, in that case it will keep repeating, as I said earlier, till infinite number of times. It will not stop and the program will keep on going, causing a runtime error. If suppose I is less than 5 and I is less than equals to 5 is not the same thing. I less than 5 means it will never update I. I less than equals to 5 means it will keep updating I. Here is an example of the same. I is 0, I less than 5, print I. This creates an infinite loop because I does not have any I is repeating the infinite number of times. There is no condition that okay, I is this much less than 5 or I should be less than this number or I should be less than equals to this number. So when it does not have a fixed boundary, a fixed size of collection, in that case, it will keep running. When we are using loops which have a fixed condition, a fixed upper and lower bound, in that case we use while. When we do not have such conditions, then we prefer for loop or if loop. There is another example for the same. Suppose there is a while loop have task. Task is get next. If task is invalid, continue. Now what is continue? That means if this task is invalid, this code will not exist. It will go on to the next statement. If task is critical, handle task break. Once the task is handling, this loop is breaking. It will not go back to the while loop and repeat the process. The moment the break statement that encounters, that means this code will no longer run. It will break the moment it sees the break statement. And once all of it is done, it will print all task process. Now, you can practice some programs like number guessing games, read line until blank line to count non-empty lines in a program, to prompt user to enter an even integer and then to print the half of the even integer they added, or to find the average of certain grades provided in the code. These can be used using while loop. Now, let's see the concept of do while loop in Python. Python itself does not have something natively known as do while loop. Its body runs at least once and it's primarily based from C. So what is do while loop? While a particular condition executes to this condition. That means to this body executes at least once. In while loop, if a condition does not match, the body will not execute. It will go directly to false. In do while loop, even if the condition is false, once at least it will execute. Let's see the difference between regular while loop and do while loop. Regular while loop, if condition is false, it will exist. If condition is true, execute body and it repeats. Whereas in do while loop, if there is a condition, it is false, it will once at least execute body. If it is true, it will keep on executing the body. If it is false, it will execute the body at least once and then exit. So body always execute at least one in do while loop, whereas body may never execute in while loop if condition is false. Next, now let us see an example of do while loop with while true and false. So suppose while true is an action. To check if action is true, if not condition break. What happens in this case? It will go once, it will check if the condition is true. If condition is not true, then it will immediately show false. A menu driven program is given here. While true, choice is input A of D and Q of UIT. If choice is A, add item. If choice is Q, break. Else print unknown option. So what happens in this case? It takes an input of A or Q. If the choice is A, then it adds an item. If the choice elif means else if, the choice elif is what we write in Python instead of else if, which we write in Java. So elif choice is equal to Q. In that case, the program will break. And in any case of other input, it will show unknown option. Alright, this is another example of do while loop. For a while loop, if the value is red and it should continue with the value, it processes value and the value is red. Whereas in do while loop, it first once at least processes the chunk and then it goes to the while loop. Now let's see another loop, which is for loop, its syntax and its structures. What is the syntax of for loop? For item in iterable, use item, else runs if no break is occurred. So what happens in this case? For this particular condition is made, execute these statements. If not, then else execute this particular statement. What can be used? List, tuple, dictionary, set, string, file objects, range function, generators, other iterable objects, all can be used using for loop. Let's see an example to iterate a list. Suppose there is a list fruits, apple, banana, cherry. For f in fruits, print f dot title. What will be the output? Now f is for in this condition, f checks if there is any letter present through it. So if there is a word present here like apple, which is a string, in that case it will iterate the list, find the word string, find the string over here and it will print. So it prints apple. Next again it goes back, it changes, checks for a second one which is banana and again it prints. Again it goes back, checks for the third one cherry and then it prints. So f here is the condition for f is equal to string dot length of the string or length of the particular list dot length. It checks the list of the length, it iterates through the list of the length and it prints the list. It iterates through a string in similar vowel. Suppose you need to count vowels in a string. Now there is a word given like Python. Now vowels originally is 0. For CH in F, if CH in A, E, I, O, U, so it checks if CH is any of the letters A, E, I, O, U, print vowel plus equals to 1. So it will count the number of vowels. In Python, there is only one vowel O. So found vowels in S. So what will it print? Found, the number of vowels it found here, vowels in this particular word S, which is Python. So it will here print found one vowel in Python. Alright. Now for loop with range. What is for loop with range? Range means it has a beginning point and an ending point with a step function. What does it do in it? For I in range of 5, print I. What will it print? It will print numbers 0 to 4 within the range of 5. To print even numbers from 2 to 4 for I in range of 2, 10 and 2, which means it steps every 2th function, which is 2, then it will skip 2, that is 4, then it will skip 2, which is 6, then skip to 8, then skip to 10. So it will print from 2 to 8. Since 10 is the upper limit, it goes n minus 1, which means 1 before upper limit. If upper limit is 5, then minus 1 is 4. Upper limit is 10, so minus 1 is 9 and the nearest even number is 8. So it prints from 2 to 8. Countdown from 10 to 1, in that case 10, 0, minus 1. In that case it goes in the reverse order. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Why did we put 0? Because it's always n minus 1. So if it's 0, then minus 1 means till 1 it will go. Now, let's see another examples of how to add a counter to items in an iterable and to return a pair of index and the item. Now there is name Ada, Grace and Linus. Suppose for IDX is name of the variable, name and enumerate names. Print f of IDX names. It will print the index and the name. With custom start index also you can do, where you can write print start from 1, start from 2, start from 3. If both the index and the value of a particular variable is needed, in that case only use custom start index, otherwise use basic enumerate function. What can be used in case of this? Where can be used for loop? To create number list, to create a table of contents, to create a sequence, to create tracking positions, to find the indices of elements that match certain criteria, sequential searching, binary searching, for loops regarding different patterns, different sequences can be used. Fibonacci series also has a for loop. Now let's see how to iterate multiple iterables in parallel. Now in that case we use using a function known as zip. What does zip do? It functions two functions together. Suppose students and score. For SC in zip, so S and SC are two iterables that will iterate through student and scores and will print S and SC, which is student and scores here. So student is A, which is 85 when the score is 85. When the student scores B, when the percentage is 92. When the student scores C, the percentage is 78. In this case, we just took a random example. Generally, it should be A 92, B 85, C 78. Now, an advanced example of the same is using iter tools and importing zip longest. You can go through this example. This won't come for your exam. Now, let's understand nested loops. Some concepts of nested loop and their example. What is a nested loop? When a particular loop is present inside another particular loop, then it is known as a nested loop. For I is equal to 0, I less than equals to n, I plus plus, we open the second bracket and we again write for j is less than 0, j is 0, j less than I, or j less than n, j plus plus. So that j loop is an inner loop of the outer loop I. So that means this is known as a nested loop. Example is a multiplication table. Let's see how it is done. For I in range of 1 to 4, under that, for j in range of 1 to 4, print I into j. So it prints 1 into 1, 1 into 1, 1 into 2, 1 into 3, 2 into 1, 2 into 2, 2 into 3, 3 into 1, 3 into 2, 3 into 3. As we can see in the output, 1, 2, 3, 2, 4, 6, 3, 6, 9. For large nested loops, you can consider breaking into function or using iter tools for better readability and performance. For loops, use cases and tips. Some use cases and tips are it is generally used in lists in patterns for transforming, filtering, mutating a list, iterating through a particular list to find a particular value, printing a particular pattern, a particular sequence, a particular series. These are all examples where for loop are used. Alright. You can build a list with IJPS for a 2D grid. What is a 2D grid? A 3D grid is three-dimensional, right? So a 2D grid is when you can place it on a plane and you can see both the surfaces. So that's basically a 2D plane. In order to build such a plane, you can use I and J, two different types of loop in a nested loop form, and you can form such a grid. You can form the sum of squares from 1 to n. How do you do that? I is equal to 0, I less than equals to n, I plus plus, j is 0, j less than equals to n, j plus plus. Then sum of the squares. So I into s is equal to I into j. And then s plus plus, which means s's value will update as j, I and j's value equals to updates. Alright, that's another example. Now let's see some keywords which are used to construct or to run these loops, like break keyword. Where is break generally used? Switch case, while loop, for loop, if else loop. Every loop can use break. Where does break loops concept come from? Immediately exists the nearest enclosing loop. What does it do? That means it runs that loop. The moment it sees a break statement, it does not repeat back to the iterable statement. It directly exits the program. It works both for and while loops. It skips the loop's else block when used. So what happens? Suppose if you have a loop with for and else, and there is a break in before else statement. What happens? It doesn't even go to the else statement. It executes the for statement and it breaks itself. Suppose you have a particular pattern to print Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You will definitely use switch and break in that case. If there is a user requested termination, if you need to first find the first match in a search, suppose there is a sequence of numbers, you need to find the first number which is an even number. You can use break statement in that case. If supposedly your goal is to find the letter A, E, I, O, U, which is one of the vowels in a particular word, the first time it appears, in that case too you can use a break statement. Alright, let's see an example. To search in a list, now your target is 7 for n in 1379. You know the in and not in. We discussed it 2 classes back. So for n in 1379, if n is equal to target, print found break. And if supposingly this break statement was not there, then it would put print found, print search complete. So what will it print? Found and search complete. In this case, the moment it finds 7, it exits loop. Now suppose there is a user command of there into break. Now suppose a user is going through a particular statement or a particular website and doesn't want to continue after a particular statement. That's the way they can terminate the website by clicking on the cross button. Similarly, they can terminate a program by clicking a particular switch which we assign for breaking. Suppose if when a is equal to q, in that case break the statement. What happens? Suppose a pattern is printing and the moment someone types q as next input, they immediately the pattern is broken there and the particular solution is provided. Now suppose if there is not a break, then what happens? Then in that case the else state is continued. Now if there is a break and you need to suppose check the prime number, alright, in that case if you use break, the else clause is completely skipped. What does it do? For n is 29, d in range of 2 int of n into 0.5 plus 1. If n mod t is equal to 0, print composite break. So it will run till n and continue printing composite repeatedly, and then it will break. It will not print the else statement of prime. It is used mainly in place of search operations, binary search, sequential search. In case of validations, data processing, binary search, sequential search, you will know more in your second year. Right now, this is mostly used in search operations, series operations, sequence operations. And in printing, suppose the days of the week, the the dates of a month, in these cases. Suppose the holidays you need to print. In that case, after this is done, December 31st, happy new year, new next day, new year, you print suppose, and then break. So it will not go back to 1st January, the new first day of the year. That word will not be printed any longer. Similarly, you can use real life example. As you can see, as and when the first print occurs, it will stop immediately. That is the function of break. So break is very helpful because it not only stops when the first error occurs, but also lets the user decide when they want to terminate. Also helps when we want the first particular solution of a program. Also helps when when a particular code does not need to run after a particular statement. In case of resource allocation too, when a particular capacity is reached, we can use the break statement so that the capacity limit does not exceed. Now let's see another keyword known as continue. What is continue? It skips the rest of the current iteration. Suppose I is 0, I less than n minus 1, I plus plus. Then there is something called system out println, the current value of I is this, and you press continue. And if there is a continue switch, what happens? The next statement which has something in it will be skipped and it will go back to the first statement. So it will continue without pausing even if there is a remaining code left in that loop body. Its execution jumps to the loop conditions check for the next iteration. It is useful for filtering data within a loop. Does not exit the loop entirely. Unlike break, it just skips and goes back to the first statement. Loop else still runs after normal completion. So unlike in break where else statement does not run at all, if there is a break before else, in continue the else statement does run. Let's see some skip odd numbers range example. So what happens in this for loop? For n in range of 10, if n mod 2, then continue print. So what is the print? 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. What happens in this case? If there is n is mod, it will not print. If n is even, then only it will print. So what happens? It continues. It skips the odd numbers, goes again to the next time, runs the loop again to check if there is an even number. If yes, it prints. If not, then it again skips. Again goes to check if the next number is even, and similarly prints an odd. It skips blanks from input stream. Suppose there is a data strip given, and in the data strip there are 6 blanks. So what happens if you if you have the continue keyword in your program? In that case, the blanks can be skipped, and the next data, the next letters of the data, the next characters present in the data can be extracted. Now let's see some difference between continue and break. In aspect of action, it skips to the next iteration, whereas break exits the loop immediately. Break has no future. Break is when you end it directly. There is only exit in it. Whereas continue has future. It will skip to the next iteration. It will stop that particular iteration there and go to the next iteration directly. It else part of the loop will run in continue. Else part of the loop is skipped in case of break. It is used mainly in filtering. It is used for early exit. There are some hidden skips which is the only risk in continue, whereas premature exit is the main risk of break statement. Let's see some real world applications. Suppose data cleaning pipeline. Clean is there for rows and rows. If not rows, active, continue. So what happens? Supposingly, if there is inactive as well, it will skip to the inactive part and go back to the active part again. Skip records with, suppose if there is row score is none, continue. So if the score is none, it will continue till there is a score and then it will print the values. To analyze a particular file, it goes line by line, and if there is an empty line, it skips the line, it goes to the next line. If there is an empty line, skips the line, goes to the next line. So it is continuing, it is skipping any non-wanted lines. Suppose if debug in line and is production continue. So what happens if debug is present in a particular line, it will skip that line and it will continue. Now let's see another keyword, pass. What is the concept of pass? It does nothing. Basically, it passes the statement. It just goes to the next one. It is much different from continue and break. It helps maintain the code structure while implementing details that are pending. Can be used to create minimal classes. An example of this is, suppose definition to do features pass. So what does it is pass that particular condition, goes to the next condition. Passes that particular condition, next condition. It ignores every error. Any common use of it is mainly in functions and methods, empty class definitions where you can use pass to later define your class, selective exception handling when you want to silently ignore specific error, when you to create minimal working examples using debugging. Now let's see a bit of difference between pass, continue and break, the three keywords which we saw today. In case of pass, it does nothing. It just goes to the next. It simply does nothing. Continue it stops that particular iteration there and goes to the next iteration. Break completely exits the loop. It is used anywhere where a statement is needed. Continue is mostly used inside loop. Break is also used inside loop. It is typically used in case of placeholder. Suppose if you do not want to define a particular class, a particular object now, you can create the object and use pass statement to, for now, just store the object and later define it. Whereas in case of continue, it filters or skips to the next iteration. Break completely exits a program as we have discussed. Else has no effect when we use pass. Continue, under continue, else statement can still run, whereas in break, continue, in case of break, else statement is completely omitted. In case of performances, for loop is much more preferred over while when iterating over iterable. Has more clarity, it has more speed, it has more efficiency with better memory, and libraries such as NumPy, Pandas for large data can be used. Common loop patterns, suppose aggregating, which is to count digits in a string. Suppose in that case, if S is A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, D, E, F. Now what will it count? Sum 1 for ch and s if ch dot is digit. What does ch dot is digit does? Check if a particular element, if that particular character is a digit. If it is digit, then it prints the count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, total 6 digits. So the count is 6. Number of times the digit is present is 6 times. So the count is 6 in this case. Calculate the average between generated. Suppose there is numbers 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. I need to find the average. In that case too, you can use this statement. Whereas average is sum numbers by length of numbers. In case of filtering, again, continue is the best case in that case to use it. Suppose you need to find the square of numbers as we discussed earlier. X into x for x in numbers, if x mod 2 is equal to 0, then it prints the squares from 1 to 10. It reads file line by stripping empty lines so that the whole file is processed instead of having an error. A bit of summary: while is condition controlled, for is iterable control, loop else runs if there is no break. Control keywords: break exits loop, skips else, exits the whole looping statement, iterable statement the moment break is present. Continue goes to the next iteration, skips the current iteration, goes to next iteration. Pass has no absolute placeholder. Some useful functions are range, enumerate. Range is a integer sequence. Enumerate gives index plus value pairs. Zip is a parallel iteration. Dot item gives dictionary key value pairs. Some practice exercises and question answers is like factorial using while, menu driven loop such as list, quiz, printing days of a week. These are all menu driven loops. Or printing the menu of a restaurant, printing the steps in a particular cookbook. or printing the particular chapters present in a menu loop. So these are all menu driven loops. Or number of cars present, the types of cars present in car brands present in a particular showroom, models present in a showroom. These are all menu driven loops, all under do while emulation. To find first repeating character, it is best if we use break. In case of iterated dictionary, we use keys, zip, sorted. These are all examples of the same. That's all for today. Thank you. Hope you've understood.